The last time we saw D.L. Hughley on with Chris Cuomo on this platform was when D.L. Hughley was explaining to a very eager Chris Cuomo that white people are always messing with black people, and the problem in America is not black violence on white people, which we know is wildly out of proportion, but really it's white on violence on black people. And because white people are always harassing, stalking, beating, threatening, taunting, robbing, and killing black people, white people are always pouring lighter fluid on black people and setting them on fire. That's the problem in America, and everybody's in denial about it. That is the great lie that D.L. Hughley spreads unchallenged on CNN. Well, he's back. Now he's back spreading another 8 minutes of lies, including the fact that, oh yeah, even though he tweeted out he was in support of Mr. Jussie Smollett in the beginning, yeah, he knew something was wrong. Oh yeah, he knew, he just wasn't letting us know. I've met guys like this before. You go to the racetrack with them and everybody puts down $5 on your favorite pony to win the race. And as soon as the race is over, they look at you and say, I knew that horse was going to win, even though they didn't bet on that horse. Let's see if you can take 8 minutes of D.L. Hughley, his lie, and while he speaks, we're going to run in the background some true videos of black violence wildly out of proportion all over the country. These are videos, just a couple. I mean, we've got 1,000 of these. They speak the truth, while D.L. Hughley is trying to get us to buy into his denial, deceit, and delusion.
Let's bring in someone who once knew the accused and stood behind him initially after the first report. Actor, radio host, D.L. Hughley. D.L., thank you for joining us.
Anything for you, man.
I appreciate it. I wish we had something better to talk about. Initially, you tweeted that you felt for Jussie Smollett. You didn't like what was happening, but now you have your own reservations and you think that this is not what he said it was.
Well, I tell you what, I think that in this country we've ceded our ability to call BS when we see it. I thought the story didn't ring true initially, but you obviously want to give people the benefit of the doubt. But, it got more cumbersome and more cluttered, and ultimately we are where we are today. And I think that the larger significance of it is that, they kind of lump groups together, and it's never the best of us. It's the worst of us that they kind of align us with. Like, we're 40 million people, so one guy can't speak for a race that got Barack Obama and Flavor Flav. But I think that there's a tendency to look at this and say, well, see, and they're black or they're gay and they do. They falsify things and they're not telling the truth, and it'll make it, I think, that much harder for somebody who is a victim of a homophobic or a racial attack. In the minds of some, it'll make it that much different. It'll lack a little credibility.
He's saying this is still true, that now he's a victim of the police rushing to judgment. What's your advice for him?
Well, I think that ultimately, here's what I will say. If he has done this, he should tell the truth. If he obviously believes that he is innocent, he should fight. But I think that obviously we have to wait till he's proven, these allegations are proven. But if they are, I think you will see a lot of black people who will call for accountability. A lot of black people who will say that he needs to be held accountable. And I want, because when you use racism and bigotry and hatred and lying for your own selfish ends, then, it's interesting when you use hatred and bigotry and lying for your own selfish end and you're a young black kid, gay black kid, you get indicted. If you do it when you're an old white guy, you become president. And I think there are enough monsters out there for real that we don't have to make any up. And I think that, white supremacists has never, they're at a historical high. Just, it's interesting that the president would focus more on the kid that orchestrated a fake attack, but not the white supremacist who was orchestrating an actual attack. Christopher Paul Hassan.
Right.
So I think it's amazing that we're more enamored by something that was imaginary, as opposed to saying something about something that's real.
Well, there is a debate. I mean, we know that hate crimes are on the rise. A lot of people don't want to accept that. They want this to be trumped up.
Sure.
No pun intended.
Sure.
They want this to be that this is political correctness, run amok, the left run amok, and now they're going to use Smollett as case number one if the police are right. And I got to tell you, reading their bond proffer statement, just 4 pages, everybody should read it. They are coming a high degree of confidence that they don't believe that these 2 African-American guys beat up Jussie Smollett as
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Let me tell you something. It strained credibility when I first heard it. But it went from, MAGA and racial and gay slurs. Like, it went from, we assumed that they were kind of white guys. It went from white kinda to Wakanda. And I think at every turn, it strained credulity. But I think now we live in a situation where the victims are automatically given the benefit of the doubt and to be believed. And I think we have really ceded our ability to call BS when we see it. Nobody that heard that story initially can tell me that they heard those story and all those kind of elements and didn't have some level of reservation.
Right.
And I think much like those people, I think the political, leaders who rightfully called out and said, this is if this is true, this is a hate crime and something should be done about it, have an obligation now to say something that it doesn't look like that. They can't just be quiet. Yeah. Silence won't make it happen.
Yeah, I agree.
You can't be a coward now.
I agree with you on that. If you got it wrong, own it, because if you don't, then you empower the criticism that, see, this is what it is. You just
all you did was be a decent. All you did was be a decent human being who believed someone. That's all you did. There's nothing to be. You know what? It's better than having to feign empathy. It's better than waiting 2 or 3 days when someone is run down in Charlottesville, or waiting 3 or 4 days when something happens and never saying anything about it. So I would rather err on the side of humanity than callousness.
These are also sometimes tricky situations to finesse. I remember with Terry Crews, you came out and, you tweeted or said, he's too strong to be sexually assaulted. You got beat up for that yourself. What was the lesson?
Well, there was no lesson in that. Let's be clear. I meant what I said. I think Terry expressed himself and I expressed mine. I grew up in a rough environment, and when you let somebody do something to you, they kept doing it. So he told it for me, and I do not apologize, and I don't feel bad about it. I don't think that there's any, much like, that was his tack, I don't think there's wrong with slapping the hell out of somebody if they physically hurt you. I don't think that, there's anything wrong with it. I can't tell you what he should have done. I can tell you what I believe I would have done.
I get it. You weren't questioning what happened. You were questioning what you would have done in the same situation.
Right, but here's the thing. Even then, we don't all have, I think, even with the Terry Crews thing, all of these people who were tweeting right on Terry and all, would they do that if he were assaulted by the police? Like, if a black man is groped, everybody, Me Too is loud. But if he's shot down, everybody's quiet. I think you take a guy that size who looks just like that, and he is parked in front of your house, are you that sympathetic, or do you call the police? So if we're going to have these conversations where we can actually see black people as victims, we need to see them not only when they're sexually assaulted and you like them, but when they're shot and you don't know them.
What's your biggest fear about the fallout from the Smollett situation if, as the police are suggesting, this is not what he said it was?
I don't believe it was what he said it was, but I think one thing will happen. If it is what he said it was, he'll it's Chicago, so maybe the one-armed man did it. I don't know. But we have to remember this. It was a black superintendent of a city where a lot of black people live, and a lot of black men and women and a lot of gay men and women are assaulted and shot and murdered in that city all the time. And how dare you take the onus off something as real as that for something like this? And it shows we can muster the resources when we want to look good, but I don't know that we do the same thing when we want to do good. I think Chicago has become a whipping post for everything that's wrong in our communities. And I think, fixing Chicago won't fix most black people's problems. But fixing most black people's problems will fix Chicago.
Right. If this turns out to be the bad reality for Jussie Smollett, you think he's done in terms of getting roles and being an actor?
Well, I think infamy is as good as fame in this situation. And listen, I know this kid used to come, and we used to have a Christmas party every year, and he was a caterer's assistant, and I liked the kid a lot. And then the next thing you know, he's a big star on Empire. I think I can't imagine what would go through his mind to make this happen, but I do imagine this. If this is true, you have harmed a lot of people. You have put people in jeopardy. And I'm not talking about just, you put police officers in jeopardy, you put black men and women, gay people in jeopardy, and you stained a movement that was starting to
Because to me, he ain't do no wrong. He just shot a cop.
To gain traction. And I think nothing's more selfish than that. But I think we live in America right now where racial hatred and bigotry and animus and lying can elevate you to the coffers of power. And he's seen it work. I don't care what anybody says, one will get you elected and one indicted, but we've seen how hate and lying and fear and stoking bigotry will work.
DL, you're smart and you come correct, and I appreciate it. Thank you for talking to me tonight.
Hey, man, feel better, man.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary, LaDonna.
Oh, very nice. 33 years. God bless you.
33 years. You get less time than that for murder.
Ooh, she's not going to like that. 33 years.
So everybody wants to pivot now. It's not about Jussie Smollett, says D.L. Hughley and Chris Cuomo, and I wish this were a lot different. I wish it were true that white guys in MAGA hats really were roaming the country attacking black people for no reason whatsoever. I wish that were true.
Please, sir, I want some more.
It's not true. That's part of the greatest lie of our generation that goes unchallenged on CNN, that is promoted on CNN. And people just watch this and they don't have a sense that something's terribly wrong with this country. Something's terribly wrong that black on white violence is so wildly out of proportion. And everybody's allowed to go on CNN and just pretend the opposite is true. Only because Chris Cuomo does not have what it takes to tell the truth, because he knows that's going to make the black kids angry.